Okay, so we'll cover the latest Tottenham transfer news with an update on the Christian Eriksen situation, and also we'll have a good look at Giovani Celso, who has been linked with a move to Spurs, and we'll have a look at who he is, where's he from, what's his stats look like, and is he a good replacement for Eriksen should Eriksen leave, and it'll be a real in-depth look at him. So we'll start off with Eriksen first. Now, since my last video, he's actually publicly come out now and said that he's looking for a move. He's very careful with his words. He hasn't actually said, I want to go to Real Madrid, but very much so that's what is being said by him, that he'd like a move to Real Madrid, and he's waiting for somebody to pick up the phone. Now, it's quite interesting because he's put a little caveat on there that, if nobody picks up the phone, then, he'll look at a new contract with Spurs. And this is a situation Daniel Levy will have to play really carefully, because with a year left on his transfer, the last thing he wants to do is lose him on a free after a year. So, from Daniel Levy's point of view, he needs to tie him down to a contract or get him sold for a decent amount. Now, we know that Daniel Levy met with the Real Madrid president the other weekend, and obviously they couldn't come to an agreement on fees, so that's still up in the air with Real Madrid. But Inter Milan have also been linked with Eriksen. Now, their president, Beppe Marotta, he's a long-time admirer of Eriksen. He tried to sign him when he was at Juventus, and he was unsuccessful then. So he's strongly linked to Inter Milan, and don't be surprised to see offers come in from them. So Daniel Levy has got some tough negotiations. Now, midfielders like Eriksen don't come along very often. You can find lots of central holding midfield players. You can find the left and right wingers, but somebody like Eriksen, who can not only score but assist in double figures every season, is going to be a real loss to Tottenham if they can't tie him up on a further contract. So we'll have a look at Lo Celso now. Giovani Lo Celso, he's Argentinian. So he's an Argentinian central midfielder. He's age 23. He's currently playing at Real Betis. Now, when you have a look at his history, it's a little bit confusing to me. He started as a youth player at Rosario Central. Now, that is the same region of Argentina that Pochettino originated from. So there's a connection there with Pochettino in where they're from. Now, he joined PSG in July 16 for 8.5 million. And didn't really do an awful lot at PSG. He was then loaned out to Real Betis in May 18, and with an option to buy. And they triggered that option to buy just in April this year. And I think it was round about £20 million, a little bit more euros. And that's a great bit of business for Real Betis. They had a good look at him, for virtually a year. They had that option there, and they've triggered it, and they've now got a player that they've written in about 100 million euros release clause, or 88 million sterling. So they've done a great bit of business. Now, we understand that should someone come in closer to that figure, they'll get him probably for less than that, but nevertheless still a great bit of business for Real Betis. But my major concern is why does he want to move so quickly? He's been there a year, didn't really stay long at PSG, so his history isn't, he hasn't got a great history. Now, he's only 23 years old. Eriksen's 27, so there's a difference in age. Now, when I look at the stats and you compare them back to when Eriksen was 22, 23, Eriksen was producing better stats in terms of goals and assists, so he was further ahead at that stage of his career. But nevertheless, Lo Celso has got some reasonable stats, and just looking at his last couple of years, so 18-19 season with Real Betis, 46 appearances, 16 goals, 6 assists. 17-18 season with PSG, 48 appearances, 6 goals, 7 assists. So, they're some reasonable stats, but they're not up to Eriksen. So when you compare the two in pure stats, you lose Eriksen, you bring in Lo Celso, you are taking a downgrade on the player, and it's down to whether he develops up to the level that Eriksen's at. Now, they are slightly different players. So when I've looked at Lo Celso, he can play central midfield deep and he can play out to the left. Now, in terms of how he plays, he's a little bit more action than Eriksen in the fact that he likes to drive with the ball. He's quite happy to knock it past someone, take somebody on and go past them. And I think as a central midfielder in the Premier League, that may cause him a few problems in terms of losing the ball and being dispossessed. He won't get that same space and speed advantage that he's perhaps got against some of the teams in La Liga. So I think in the Premiership it'll be a little bit more crowded out. So I think his better position is just playing slightly more advanced on the left. He's got a great left foot and he can pick a pass. He loves to shoot. He's got a great long shot on him. He doesn't take set pieces like Eriksen, so he's not a set piecer. So you lose that with Eriksen. The one thing I think Eriksen does is he plays that little bit further up the pitch than Lo Celso, and he's the man that can unlock a defence, a tight defence, and I think he's just a little bit cleverer than Lo Celso. But don't get me wrong, Lo Celso does look a great player. So in terms of Eriksen, you get set piece delivery. He operates a little bit wider than Lo Celso. He's a great assist, great goals, great passer. Lo Celso, you lose the set piece. He tends to like to operate more centrally, and I would like to see him a bit more on the left if he came to Spurs. You lose a little bit on the assists and goals, but he looks a little bit more mobile than Eriksen, and he looks like he can drive past a player. So overall, I think he's a great player. I think the question marks against him are there's very limited history there, which at 23 you're going to have that. My other sort of concern with him is he's very much come out and said, I want to play for Pochettino, and I'd like to know what his motivation behind that is. And the fact that he's very quickly gone from PSG to Real Betis, signed on a permanent there, and then seems to be touting himself out on the market, wanting to come to Spurs. So, is he going to be a little bit of a one-season wonder? Will he be able to hack it in the Premier League? And, that's what Pochettino and his scouts are really going to have to delve into. Now, if you look at similar players that are available on the market to him, you've got people like James Maddison at Leicester. Very similar in terms of stats. Now, James Maddison came up from the Championship when he was with Norwich. Superb in the Championship. Made that step up into the Premier League. He's done a season in the Premier League, and he has shown that he can live with the Premier League boys. The thing with somebody like Lo Celso is, he's in the Spanish league, and yes, there's some excellent teams in there, but there's also some weaker teams, and you get at times a little bit more space, a little bit more time on the ball than you get in the Premier League. So my doubts are, I think he's a downgrade to Eriksen, should Eriksen go. I think, yes, he's a very good player from what I've seen, and it's whether Pochettino can look into that background and see for his motivation to come, and whether he's a player that he feels he can develop. Watch this space. We'll keep you updated on all the latest Tottenham transfer news. Please, if you like the videos, you like the channel, subscribe below. And like I say, we'll keep you all updated. Thanks for watching.